Welcome to Sunday morning Rasa Flow Yoga at the Earth Studio. I have
Saturday.
Delia. Oh, it's Saturday. I have Delia, Andy, and myself, Ayesha. Today, our thoughts are about death. How can we come to terms with death? And how do we even manage ourselves when we hear bad news, and mostly about death and losing loved ones in the family? And in this past week, I've had 2 deaths in my family, and I wanted to talk about how we can relate to that experience. I've been experiencing the death of my loved one since the age of 16, and I don't like to say I'm hardened to that experience. I am very sensitive to that experience. So I'll allow Delia to speak first.
Hi. We were talking about death this morning when I first came into yoga, but we started off by saying what a beautiful day it was and how nice it's been so far, and somehow we got onto the topic of death. Ayesha shared her story about her family member that had just passed away, and I received news yesterday from a good friend of my husband that passed away, and I didn't know this person particularly well, but it's that shiver sensation, the hairs stand up on your arms, and I've not been able to get that out of my mind today. And it took me back to the death of my father, which was a lot of years ago, and it took me back to the last time that I spoke to my father. He passed away on holiday unexpectedly, and the day before they went away, I went to see them at their house, and it was my dad's favourite Saturday afternoon sport on TV, where he used to sit in the living room with the TV on, and we weren't allowed to go in to see him because he didn't want his football disrupted. And I stuck my head around the door and said, "Hi Dad," and he said, "Hi, I'm just watching soccer." That meant go away, so I came out. The kids ran in to say hi to him, came out again, and then we were there with my mum for a couple of hours, and we left, and I stuck my head around the door. I said, "Go in, Dad, bye," and he said bye, and that was the last time I ever spoke to my dad. And after the shock of the death and trying to come to terms with it, all I could think about was that last time I spoke to him and saw him, and didn't make the most of that. I barely looked at him and just said hi and bye, and that was it. So since then, I try to think, we're not here for a long time. We never know when that time's going to be, and you just got to make the most of every day with every person that you meet and everything you see, because you don't get that opportunity again. And since then, there have been other deaths in the family, but I always think back to that time and make the most of every second that you've got with your loved ones. It takes a long time to get over it. Time does heal, but my dad has died in 1988. I still think of him every day, and many times I say to my husband, "My dad would really have liked this, my dad would have said this, my dad would have said that." So whilst his body's gone, he is still in my mind so often, as my mum is, who died since, and it lives with you forever. Just because the body's gone, they're still in your heart, and they're still in your life, and they're still in your mind. So that's what I try to think about when I'm feeling sad. You still do feel sad, but it just gets easier to deal with, I think. And that's my bit.
Thank you, Delia. That's very touching, and very it's unrest for me that would be the last memory of your dad. Hi Dad and bye Dad. Yeah, that's profound. While he was watching TV, and that was it. That was it for Delia, for her memory. But I wanted to say that I've come to terms with death in a more quiet way and more reflective. And today I found peace with death. I didn't have peace with death for a long time, but after so many deaths in the family, my mother, my dad, my youngest brother, these are people close to me, my brother-in-law, and most recently my sister-in-law, and now another brother-in-law. And I was very close to all these people, and there is something that connected deeply with all these people, and it was a quiet sense. The quietness is that you never had to have a long conversation with these people. You could connect, I could connect with them on this quiet level. Oh yes, and I lost my in-laws, my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, and when I talk about that quietness, because there was a language barrier, we could still connect on this quiet level. You can call it prayer, you can call it anything. I don't have to pray, but that place of quietness is prayer for me. The other thing I connected with today in this death experience is a reflection, and to really be mindfully reflect on how this person impacted you in their life and in my life, and it was profound as well. My brother-in-law was a nutritionist. He was a healer, and he gave me a lot of advice, and he advised me about my children, and so I have a lot of respect and a connection with his roots. I decided to go for a walk in the morning, and that is when I connected to the peaceful experience of death. And how do we do that? You liberate yourself to nature. And as I was talking about how elevated how elevated he was in his talks with me, I saw a plane fly over me, and that was indication to me that I resonated, or that nature or the unseen resonated with what I was saying. I spoke about how healing he was, and then a little sparrow flew close to my feet to pick up some grains from the earth, and then I thought, to me, nature has again acknowledged that part of what I felt about my brother-in-law's soul journey now towards heaven. And again, I then thought about how friendly he was to everybody that was around him. And there was nobody on the street, and I was walking by and passing by this house, and there was this older man who was just standing with his hat on. I don't know if he was planning to go somewhere, but he turned around, looked at me, and said good morning, like he knew me from ages. And then that again was acknowledgement that my brother-in-law was a friendly person, and was connected to a lot of people, and he truly was a healer. So these are my thoughts on death, and my peaceful acknowledgement of death this morning. I also lost my sister-in-law, that's my brother's wife, and that I forgot to mention. That's too many deaths in my life, but I'm still the same person, connected, and I'm here ready to teach my class this morning. Any thoughts? No. The divine in me sees the divine in you and in all of us, those who are present and those who have left this earth. Namaste.